To rent or to flip? It's not always an easy decision. Hi, I'm Megan. I love investing in real estate and empowering others to do the same. Many people get into real estate investing focused on one strategy, but as you gain experience, you can begin to use a mix of strategies to fit different lifestyle needs and business goals. So today I want to talk through 5 factors I consider when deciding whether to flip a property or buy it to hold as a rental. So why are we talking about this? Well, these 2 strategies offer really different benefits. Flipping is short-term profits. Rentals are long-term wealth building. So it's the difference between a potential $30 profit on a flip right now versus maybe having $300 per month forever, plus equity building, plus tax benefits from a rental. But the bottom line is that real estate has many strategies, which means options, and that's important. Flexibility helps in real estate. So understanding multiple strategies and when and how to use them can really save you. You always want alternate exit strategies when you're working in real estate. So let's get into these 5 different factors to consider. So factor number 1, personal goals and capital needs. What are your long-term plans? What is it that you want to achieve financially, but also what do you need to do in the short term to achieve those long-term goals? For instance, maybe you already have a great income from your job and you need the tax benefits of rentals. Plus, it'd be nice to start slowly but surely building up that passive income over time for when you eventually want to leave your job. Or maybe you really need more income because you don't have enough to be setting aside money for a down payment on a rental. So it's better for you to start flipping now so you can generate the capital to put into longer term investments. Whatever your situation is, I think that your personal situation and the capital needs to fuel what you want to do with your life are the first factor you should consider. If you really don't have the time or energy to be flipping homes, you don't want to start doing that right now. Or if you don't have the cash to buy rentals, money to put down on a rental property, unless you can get creative with your financing, it might not be the time for that yet. So your current situation, I think, is the absolute most important factor in deciding whether to rent or flip. Factor number 2 is property type. So if you're in an area that has a ton of multifamily, you might have a lot of great opportunities for buying long-term rentals. However, I do know people who flip 2 and 4 family buildings, oftentimes to people who want a house hack. So you can flip small multifamily properties as well. Single family, as you can imagine, can really go either way, but it's going to depend on a lot of different factors. So the properties that you have in your area and the deals that you actually have access to, the things that you're able to get under contract are going to be part of the consideration on whether it's a better flip or long-term buy and hold. Factor number 3 is location. Are you buying in an area that has really strong demand? Are families or young professionals or whomever clamoring to buy a house in that area? If so, prices might be pushed pretty high and you might be better off flipping that property because by the time you renovate and refinance it to be a rental, you might not actually have enough cash flow per month to make that a good long-term hold. However, if you're in an area that has strong rental demand, maybe you're close to a lot of employers, you might be in a touristy area or close to hospitals where you could attract midterm clients like nurses, this might make it a really good area for holding as a rental, whether it's long-term, midterm, or short-term, depending on what those local attractions are. So definitely understand your location, understand what type of demand it is. Is it buyer demand or rental demand? Understand what's driving that demand. So you know, does this make sense to flip or should I hold it long term? And if so, what type of rental should it be, short, mid, or long term? And I recently did a video kind of going through the pros and cons of each of those types of rentals, short, mid, and long term. So make sure you check that out as well. Factor number 4 to consider is the numbers. Obviously, the numbers need to make sense for you to flip or rent a home. Sometimes there are properties where it really doesn't make sense to do either. Maybe it's in one of those really high demand neighborhoods, there's not much opportunity to push value, and you just don't see a way to make a particular property make money for you. So you really want to make sure you're looking at the numbers closely on any deal. And I really advocate for running your numbers multiple ways on every deal. So what could it do for you as a flip? Run the numbers with the renovation required to get the money that you would want back out of that property. And oftentimes, if you're renovating to flip, you might be spending a little more on the renovation than if you're renovating to hold it as a rental. For instance, you might be tearing out bathrooms and putting in a brand new updated kitchen versus if you buy something as a rental, it might be more of a paint and carpet situation. So you want to run your numbers looking at both scenarios and adjusting for both scenarios. When you're running numbers for a flip, you need to think about your renovation costs, your holding costs, and your selling costs at the end, including paying agents and any other costs associated with closing the sale of that property. When you're running numbers for a rental, you want to make sure that you're looking at what it's going to take to get that place ready for a rental, what your holding costs will be in that time, any refinance costs associated with taking that from maybe short-term money to a long-term loan after you've completed renovations, and then also what will your ongoing holding and operating costs be. So you're going to have a mortgage, you're going to have taxes and insurance, you'll have maintenance and repairs that you need to pay, utilities, and so on and so forth. I definitely have videos out there about how to run the numbers on these things, so go check those out if you haven't looked at those already. But make sure you're running your numbers in detail both ways, because the numbers matter and you need to understand what a property can do for you in both scenarios. And finally, factor number 5 is market trends. So are prices on homes rising, or are they stabilizing, or maybe even softening a little bit? Is rental demand high and are rents rising, or are those kind of soft at the moment? Are people having a hard time filling rentals right now? Understand the market trends in your area and understand that market trends are very local for real estate. So you might understand kind of what's happening as a whole across the US. Then you need to understand in your state and in your city and in the neighborhood where you're working, so you know really what's going to affect you and your market. At the end of the day, many times people tend to say, okay, it's a hot seller's market, so now is the time to flip. Or maybe it's a softer market, it's more of a buyer's market, and that's the time to really be accumulating rentals. So there we go, 5 factors I consider when deciding whether to rent or to flip a property: personal goals and capital needs, the property type, the location, the numbers, and the current market trends. Whatever your goals are in real estate, I encourage you to look at every deal from multiple angles. Run your numbers multiple ways. Real estate is a really powerful tool, but it can take you by surprise sometimes. You can miss things early on in the deal, or the market can shift a little bit, and you always want to strive to have an option B and maybe an option C as well. Please leave your thoughts or any questions you have in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and maybe share this with a friend who you think will find it useful. And most importantly, keep learning, keep growing, and have fun.